Good morning.
Good morning.
Wow, we have a full house. Welcome to our friends on the broadcast, whether you're watching us live or later in your day or later in your week. Like Madge said, that Equinox events was so wonderful. It was so beautiful. And again, we're pretty wiped out. So thank goodness it's like twice a year, right? Twice a year. So I just invite you to join me in prayer. Creator, essence of all, we are in deep gratitude to be able to gather in community. We're grateful for our members, for the volunteers, to our ministerial team, and to our founders. Please bless this space as we hear the words from Reverend Madge's message. May it touch our hearts, and may we use these words and this insight in our own lives. Please send a special blessing or blessings to those that are in need. Maybe they're experiencing suffering in some form. And we ask that they receive and they recognize the love and the light of God. And we say this in deep reverence. And I'd like to welcome Reverend Madge up.
Okay. Yes, my message today is walking your medicine way. So this message is one that was inspired to give. Again, I gave the essence of this message quite a few years ago when we were up at Silver Falls Conference Center at a retreat. We used to have annual home center retreats. Some of us remember, huh, Tara? And anyway, we'd have once a year, we'd have Sunday service. We wouldn't have it here. We would have it up there. It was really fun. And anyway, so as I was up there, this is one of the messages, the essence of it, but in revisiting it, it's like, oh, it's still so relevant today. I want to share the essence of it again today. So I was talking about the beautiful setting of the trees that are up there, the plants and the water. You guys all have been up to Silver Falls, I hope. Yes, it's magical up there. The air is so clean that the lichen, hangs off the trees. It's the stuff that only grows where the air is real clean, and there's a fair amount of it up there. So it's, you can just fill your lungs up and just feel so good at knowing what you have. Well, I had a boss a number of years ago that hired me to the hospital in Dallas, and she used to tell us the story about how her and her husband were the light keepers at the Mears Lighthouse a number of years ago. And she herself at the time was the manager at the surgical services in Forest Grove. So that was quite a drive from Tillamook to Forest Grove for her. But she talked also about the old growth along the road because she was there before it was all cut down. And those magnificent trees. And she talked about that lichen, how in the old growth, it hung to the ground. It wasn't just these little strips that we see today. They hung in sheets off the trees to the ground. And she said as she was driving, especially the coastal area has a lot of wind, and it would be spooky seeing these sheets of moss hanging off these huge old trees. She said it was magnificent. But she was also driving back and forth as they were cutting the trees down, and her heart never stopped hurting for the what was lost in those trees, and how much she just felt so blessed to have spent the time even just driving by them. So anyway, I'm really grateful that we have places like Silver Falls where they are doing their best to preserve those really sacred and special places that hold that kind of energy still. But to walk the medicine way is a beautiful walk to be on in everyday living. It doesn't have to be something special that you do. It's the way of being centered in your heart. It's the way of feeling connected and in harmony with the environment around us. And it's beyond the teachings of the Bible. It's beyond any particular teachings. It's the magnificence of the universe that we are connecting with when we're walking the medicine way. And it's a way of being with an open heart and in alignment with your integrity. So in your personal walk with spirit, where you walk softly, not only on the earth, but you walk softly with other people. You walk softly uh, in your everyday living with purpose and intent. And when you're taking that next step in life, it's taking that step in faith. It's taking that step knowing that your next step is going to be good, regardless of what the environment or the life stories have to be thrown at you. In the word manya is it's from the word manya ki, which means, or it's sometimes said, monarchy. It's also said as monarchy, and it's the rites of initiation into the medicine way. And it means I love you. It means be as thou art, be as thou art. Either one of those. So in your beingness, be who you really are on the inside, and be as thou art. Be present with the Spirit of God, that you are luminous with love and presence. Our ancestors would walk through the forest and they observed the signs of nature, and they would look for assistance in their healing from the plants. They would look for signs from the animal kingdom. They would take the messages from the crows and from the ravens, and they would pay attention to what came their way, because they knew that they were connected in a spirit of oneness with all that is. So everything had a oneness with them. So those kinds of things that came across their environment or came across their paths or that they observed meant something. I even observed this morning when I went outside the door here, and I could hear this beautiful chirping, this bird song. And I looked around, it's like, where is it? Where is it? And it was sitting on top of the chimney of this building. And I came back in, I was enjoying it anyway, was with it, told it thank you, came back in, went back out, and then it was on the peak of that building, singing away. Just, saying good morning to the world here and welcoming all of you before you came, calling you in, I think. I'm going to have to ask Red Robin to do that more often because we're full today. Little Red Robin, call us in. It was wonderful. Yeah. So, as far as like our ancestors walking and looking to these things, they listened to the wind and they would listen to the water for the messages of their heart, the answers. And they didn't see themselves as separate from the environment. And we need to not see ourselves separate from the environment either. We wouldn't damage it if we would know that that's part of us. They drank the water and understood deeply that the same water that they were drinking was the same water that the animals were drinking. And they knew the molecules, even though they might not have the word for it, was all in that spirit of oneness. And they understood that the deer that they were eating was now a part of them. And they understood that when their body died, that it went back into the soil and it became the food, it became the grass and the forage that the deers would now eat, that would feed their next generation. And they saw that as a continuum on the path of life and the oneness with the universe. So it's this beautiful cycle of oneness. The cycle hasn't changed, still going on millions of years later, but we don't oftentimes stop long enough to appreciate that awareness and that amazingness of the cycle of life. So when you spend time in nature, it's easy to realize these cycles if you just watch it for a few moments. But we don't have to live in the middle of beauty to see beauty. Even if you live in the forest and you're not present in that moment, you're not present with the forest, you might as well be in the city, right? Because you're not present with it. So, and you miss the beauty. There's a way of, where couples can settle down and they raise their children in their hometown. And then the kids grow up and they get to be teenagers and all they want to do is get as far away from that as they can, right? They've just got to have that separation. Get out of this town. They go out. Well, then they meet their love of their life, and then pretty soon they start pining for that familiarity. Oh, I remember when. Oh, now I want home. And they wind up going back, and then they want to raise their kids in what was familiar to them, where they felt that connectedness to something greater than themselves. So there's beauty all around us. There's even beauty in the slums if we choose to open our eyes and do our best to see it with an open heart. There's a quote from the book From Beauty in the Soul, and it talks about aesthetic intelligence. I like that word, aesthetic intelligence. And it's about where and how we are able to perceive beauty. And it's a capacity akin to tuning in. You know, you tune in and you look for the beauty. You look for those places in life where there's something. I love those photographs where they take a picture of this ugly sidewalk, but then when you look really closely, there's a flower coming up in the crack, and there's beauty in that. I like the guy that paints the things on the side, or chalk things on the sidewalk, where he takes a little hole in the wall and then he makes some creature out of it, and some whimsical character or a manhole, and then he does something really magical. It's so fun, something crawling out of it. He sees beauty. He sees the creativity in that little anomaly. It spurs something in his mind. So we want to have that inspiration within us, and anchors us into the familiar and reassures our experience. And there's a limited aesthetic range that that we can have that restricts us from our world. If we don't expand our ability to see beauty, then it restricts us, and we only see the things that are not beautiful. So we want to expand that and create flexibility and enrich our lives. So you want to pay attention to your aesthetic IQ, as they call it. There's emotional IQ, intelligence IQ, and there's an aesthetic IQ that is measurable as well. So you don't want to be missing out on the beauty in life. So it's easy to see beauty when our life is easy and things are the way we want them to be. It's hard to see beauty when our lives start kind of coming unraveled, or we have upheavals in our world. But if we could still continue to seek the beauty within it, then we can still find that, and we can experience that talent. So I had an experience once where I wondered, what in the world were you thinking? Because there was this moment that I had that was so surreal. And what it was is, this happened a number of years ago. I was driving downtown Salem, and the traffic was pretty heavy, so it was pretty slow. And I come across, where the corner of Rite Aid is, and there's oftentimes a fair amount of homeless people. In this particular day, there was just a young teenager, propped up against the wall, and she was dirty and she looked awful. And my heart kind of broke for the scene of what I was looking at. And my judgment said, "Oh my God, that's so ugly." To see her being in that state, she was apparently on drugs. She was sitting there in a stupor, kind of slumped over, and my judgment said, "Oh my God, that is so bad." And within a split second, Spirit showed me a different scene in that moment, a different interpretation of what I was looking at. And it was just so surreal. I mean, the vision that Spirit showed me was more real than what I was seeing with my eyes. And it showed me the beauty of her experience. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm kind of arguing with Spirit about it, in a sense, even though it was in a split second. In those split second moments, it feels like time expands and you have a lot of time to have conversation. So yeah, you've been in an auto accident, you'll know that one too. Yeah, but in that moment, my crown opened up and they showed me the beauty of what she was going through. And Spirit showed me that she had this beautiful glow of an aura around her. And her angels were with her. And they were loving her, and they were holding her in this beautiful place. And they told me she won't always be like this. She won't always be doing this. This is just what she's doing right now, and it's what she needs to do. I thought, wow, I need to reframe my judgment. I didn't see that at first. It took Spirit opening up my third eye and opening up my crown to being able to see the real thing that was happening for her. And it was amazingly beautiful. Yeah. I was like, how can that be? But it was. I couldn't argue it. So I judged the image of the girl on the street, but the Spirit of God showed me what they see, what Spirit sees, what the universe sees. And they didn't see that. It was, be as thou art. And it was amazing. So my friend Michael Drake, he's a shaman drummer that follow a lot of his stuff in my drumming. He shared with me one time how he was working on his drumming CD, and he had come to this place in his creative thinking where he was stuck. And then, for whatever reason, all of a sudden, it's like something broke loose, and he had this spurt of creativity that he was able to finish his CD with. And what he realized later, or after the window of creativity closed again, is he correlated that spurt of activity was in time with an oil eruption in the Gulf of Mexico. And when his creativity stopped was when they capped it. And it's like, how did that work? Even though it was, environmentally not a good experience, the soul of him was able to tap into the flow of the underworld. Because when in drumming, a lot of that creativity comes from the underworld. So he was able to tap into the underworld of creativity and tap into the flow of his what he was trying to produce. Isn't that amazing? So it doesn't really matter. Energy is still energy. Creativity is still creativity. So I thought that, what an interesting way of using the earth energy for creativity to accomplish a goal, to get that inertia going. So it was like, wow, talk about harnessing the elements of nature. He knew how to do that. Or it happened for him, I should say, because it was in hindsight that he could see the correlation. There's another example that a friend of mine shared with me about how closely we're connected to nature. She was at a herb workshop, and the instructor was teaching them about how to pay attention to what plants show up in your yard. Connie had this when COVID first hit. She had the plants that support the lungs show up in her yard in a magnificent way. But to pay attention to what shows up in your environment. And this particular woman, or the instructor was teaching them that, and then one of the people that was taking the class, she just was like, oh my God, are you kidding me? What she had showing up for her in her yard unexpectedly, she never planted, was foxglove. And foxglove was at her front door, and it was so thick and prolific that it was actually coming in her front door. And she realized, and we know that foxglove is a plant that is where they get digitalis for the heart. That's why you're not supposed to pick it with your fingers and get it on your skin, because it'll affect your cardiac system. But anyway, it was coming in her front door, and she was going through a very bitter and ugly divorce at the time. And nature showed up to support her and was coming in the door. We're coming in for you. We're here to support you all the way. It's beautiful how that happens. The wisdom of the plant kingdom is there, to help all of us. I had my own experience a number of years ago. I had this beautiful big dinosaur kale plant, and it was so big, and it kind of fell over, and it went along the lawn, and it came up, and this trunk was about that big. And it was getting fall. The wintertime was starting to come. Temperatures were dropping. And I thought, I want my greens for the wintertime. So I started picking the leaves, and I was chopping them up, putting them in a bag to freeze for later. And all of a sudden, I had this touch in my chest. It was a physical touch, right in the middle of my chest. And as soon as I felt that physical touch, I felt this pink light. I could see this pink light inside my chest. And I heard it say, whatever it was, don't worry, we're going to feed you all winter. And I thought, whoa. So I stopped my chopping right then. And then I thought, okay, I'm not picking any more leaves. And I realized what my belief is that it was plant deva that was talking to me. It came and touched me and then told me, don't worry, we'll feed you all winter. And I just, froze what I'd already picked. I wasn't going to throw it away, of course. And I didn't pick another leaf until I needed it. And I had fresh greens all winter. And it was beautiful. The plant kingdom, the earth, will support us in every way if we are in touch with it, in harmony, and treat it well. It's such a beautiful relationship. So to walk the medicine way is to walk in balance with no harm. to environment, to the animal kingdom, to others, not even ourselves. Don't forget ourselves. We need to treat ourselves just as tenderly, just as kindly. We all have a story that's living inside of us, and we're telling that story through our words, our deeds, and our actions, or reactions sometimes, yeah. We're telling our story through our beingness. And so we have to really think about what story are we telling in our state of being. So when you stay as the observer in your story, then you stay kind of more heart-centered and in the medicine way. So we're witnessing, in that way, you're witnessing your soul as the observer rather than reacting to it as in first person. So quite a few years ago, I was also in Portland attending a lecture, and a workshop in the afternoon. So it was a lecture in the morning, workshop in the afternoon, and this person that was leading it, I was pretty acquainted with. And I'm not going to tell the name because it's being broadcast. Sorry, guys. But the information was so pertinent, I think, to what we're even experiencing today. And he invited me for lunch. We went out and had lunch together between the lecture and the workshop. And he shared with me that he had been invited to be a part of a global discussion and about the world situation. We can still have that discussion today about, what's happening in the world. And in this discussion that he was in, there were different authorities that were expressing concerns because they know that in the near future, some countries are going to be running out of water. Some countries are going to be running out of other certain resources, and others are going to be facing other devastating circumstances. And he said, well, it's the whole system is broken. He said, as we are talking, we can't take one piece out without the whole thing coming unraveled. He said, it's a really difficult situation because you just take one piece out and everything, and it dominoes into too many other things. So he said that the whole thing will collapse. So he believes that, but he also believes, this is the flip side of this, he also believes that the new human is emerging. And Barbara Marx Hubbard oftentimes talked about the new human. Greg Braden talks about the new human. Our luminaries today talk about that. Well, and he sees it in the form of when he was invited to Rwanda and to Israel and to the Palestinian countries. He was called into Rwanda as a consultant for reconciliation. They were trying to recover from their wars that they had there. And they were trying to create environments where deep forgiveness can happen. They were trying to create a culture of forgiveness so that they could move forward as a country. And he said that both Rwanda, Israel, and the Palestinians, the average human is so tired of war. They don't want to fight anymore. They want peace. They want reconciliation. And they're just really tired of the suffering that has been happening in their countries. And he told me how privileged he was to witness in Rwanda this woman whose children had been killed. She herself had been mutilated. And through this process of forgiveness and reconciliation, he was able to witness the assailants that had done this to her and her family tell her that they were sorry. Isn't that beautiful? And she, in turn, said to them, she recited Psalm 23 back to them. And she said, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil. And, this is the new human that's coming forward. And he said that this is this is what he says, that is the new human. The body is becoming so light that the burden of darkness is too heavy. Isn't that beautiful to realize that? This is the new medicine. This is the new way of being. This is the new way of moving forward. And this is also the predictions of the ancient ones. The prophecies of the ancient ones of the Americas, they speak of a new human appearing on the planet also. So it's coming forward in many ways, not only from our luminaries, but the ancient ones spoke of this as well. And it's not the new human of the psycho mumbo jumbo. A lot of what we hear. This is the ancient ones that are saying this. So anyway, they speak of the new human as one who lives free of fear and resides in his or her transcendent nature. And the new human, that which we're evolving into, is so magnificent and beautiful that we are already, we are all, as humans, we're already magnificent and beautiful. But we're moving more into our heart. We're moving more into that higher vibration of the transcendent state. And we're able to shine a brighter light. And we're able to give a greater capacity of love in our hearts. As we empty ourselves of fear and empty ourselves of judgment, we can fill that in with compassion and love for one another, and have that be the way we move forward. So each have a unique identity or spirit or essential nature, and you have a potential, and that's potential with a capital P. You have a soul that has potential. You have a spirit that has potential. You came in with talents and skills to be the greatest that you can be, to be of service to the planet, to be of service to humanity, and to walk that way, to walk that medicine way in this life. So you're very special. Each one of you is very unique, and there is nobody that is another you. Doesn't matter how much you might look like somebody. You ever had somebody come up to you and say, there's somebody who looks just like you? They're not you. You get to be special and unique. So walk the medicine way. So for our meditation today, I have a new tool. It's really a tool. I purchased this. I purchased this crystal singing bowl at our fair yesterday. It still has little white specks on it from the styrofoam that it lives in to be protected. But I'm going to play this for our meditation today. How's that? It's really beautiful. I'm so happy with this. So settle in and just allow yourself. And I'll go up and down the aisle a little bit too. I'll walk out of the view of the camera for a few minutes. I'll come back. Isn't that lovely?
I'm jealous.
You're jealous?
I'm jealous.
I know. I bought it before we even opened, man. I totally cheated. Yeah, she's had it laying there, and I said, "What have you got there?" And it's like, "She really selling it?" And she goes, "Yeah, it's for sale." And I said, "Sold. How much is it?" So it's the letter. It's the note F, which is the heart, and then it has adventuring in the handle. Yeah, and it has a little plug, so you can change the stones if you wanted to, too. Yeah, isn't that nice? I can use this in my healing practice, too, and share it with you guys. Darlene? I'm not good with names. Oh, she was here in the corner. Uh-huh. Yeah. Anyway, the jewelry. Yeah. So anyway, I wanted to share that with you. That's right. So it's all right. So yeah, she makes beautiful stuff. Yeah. So anyway, I feel very blessed to have that, and I'll share it with you guys, and once in a while, and pull it out, and yeah. When? Okay, next question. Did somebody ask me a question? Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for letting me share it with you guys. All right, so I'm going to call Jennifer back up. She's going to have a little share and a closing prayer, and we'll close our broadcast, and we'll give the offering and announcements.
That was lovely. That was so beautiful. I got to get Reiki this morning and that, so I'm like, ooh, get your feet back on the ground, Jennifer. All right. So, the birds. You're calling the birds today. Yeah. So this morning I'm going to share from the Jesus Calling book, and it's actually for today, March 19th. And it says, I speak to you from the depths of your being. Hear me saying soothing words of peace, assuring you of my love. Do not listen to voices of accusation, for they are not from me. I speak to you in love tones, lifting you up. My spirit convicts cleanly without crushing words of shame. Let the Spirit take charge of your mind, combining all tangles of description. Be transformed by the truth that I live within you. The light of my presence is shining upon you in benediction of peace. Let my light shine in you. Don't dim it with worries or fears. Holiness is letting me live through you. Since I dwell in you, you are fully equipped to be holy. Pause before responding to people or situations, giving my spirit space to act through you. Hasty words and actions leave no room for me. This is the atheistic living. I wait to inhabit all your moments. I want to inhabit all your moments, gracing your thoughts, words, and your behavior. So that's actually from, this woman writes and takes different scriptures. So it's from Romans and Corinthians. So it's a beautiful little book. So we will prepare for our offering. Oh, just kidding. I'm going to do the closing prayer and then we'll do Okay. I thought we were going to offer on the broadcast, but no. Okay. I'll do the closing prayer then, and I invite you to join me. Spirit, again, we're so grateful to be here, to be in community. And we're grateful for the words that Reverend Madge shared. And may we go through our week in the love and the light of Christ, of God, of all of our spirit helpers, and those masters that have ascended. And again, just asking for special blessings to shroud those that are experiencing difficulties in their life. May they feel the love. And we say this in deep reverence. Amen. Amen. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us today.